Hi. So this is an example of a low-cost home behind me. This was an old grocery store from years ago. It was after used as a grocery store, sold to an individual with a storage business, and then it was sold to an individual who used it for residence and part, individual monthly rental storage. But I'm just using this as an example because the guy, at least a year and a half ago, wanted 120 for it, but he was incredibly flexible. I mean, he was willing to carry a 2% interest with 10,000 down. I honestly think, in its current condition, he's out of state, by the way. I'm using this as an example just to show you could find good deals out there. But I mean, he'd probably honestly take 60,000. The roof needs to be repaired, really replaced, but I think 2,000 and tar would probably cover the deal. But this is I think it's a 6,000 square foot structure. It's what do you get? For an old grocery store, what are you going to get? It's a total rehab. But I mean, the point is, it's manageable. And I thought I'd just point out this house across the street. It was for sale about 5 years ago for, I think it was 60 grand. Kind of rehab condition. Had a lot of mold on the main floor. But the reality, just to put that mold into context, mold is something that you shouldn't be afraid of. Hypersensitivity pneumonitis is the term used to describe individuals that are really prone to mold allergies, but they're prone to just about anything. Any crawl space is going to have mold. The black mold hype, it came about, I think it was a Dallas, Texas hospital. They had some fatalities, some infant mortality rates that were higher, and they attributed it to mold initially. That was subsequently disproven. So the black mold hype really shouldn't, it's not based upon good science. So if you do run across a home or something like that that has black mold, it really is not a showstopper. A little bit of chlorine, some scrubbing, but the notion of having to rip down the sheetrock to go and fix black mold, no, it's sealed. You have mold in your attic. It's not a big deal. But you can see they went ahead and painted this house behind me. It's a full acre lot. It's in the city limits here, and they picked that up. They probably offered less than 60. And the reason I'm stating that is, if you're flexible, if you have an open mind, there's a lot of things you can do. So let me just show you more on this particular house, this old grocery store. So you're talking 6,000 square feet. The guy's lived in it. I think he moved away 10 years ago, hasn't been occupied since, but he comes out occasionally just to check it. And that's why I think a deal like this, I mean, it's not listed, and there's lots of deals like this. Just go around, look for yards that haven't been kept up. You go to, if you're back east, go to places like McKeesport, Pennsylvania, or parts of Detroit or parts of Chicago. You can, or even, honestly, parts of LA. You can find homes cheap. The question is, do you want to live in those neighborhoods where most of the people are fairly racist, and if you have white skin, you'll be targeted. I guarantee if you leave your tools out, you'll be robbed. But if you don't want to go to those areas and still want affordable housing, you got to think outside the box. Just as another example, I can't really see it, but so behind me now, there's a school over there. This goes back, I think, to 2014, so 10 years ago. But a guy I know, he picked this place up, 22,000 square feet, just the old school. They had downsizing, small enrollments, and what municipality wants to maintain an older school without investing in significant dollars into upgrades. So he picked that up, I think, for 96,000. It sounds glamorous being in a $22,000 home, but keep in mind, in all these three examples on this one corner, so the school, the mold house over there, and this old supermarket here that was converted to a home, you can't get a mortgage on these. So you have to use alternative financing to get those kind of deals. So in the case of this homeowner financing, I guarantee, if I offered the guy 60,000, he'd take it. He'd probably take 60,000 with 20,000 down and 40,000 owner carry. So there are deals to be had. You just kind of have to be open-minded and smart about it. Here's another, you can barely see it, but there's a big building over here behind me. Oh, before I forget, on this $96,000 school the guy picked up in 2014, it had some of those mobile trailers on it. So the guy actually sold those for, a few grand a pop. So it actually netted quite a bit less than the 96 he paid. And then he also rents it out as a church to a Mennonite community that recently moved up here from southern Idaho. So he makes more money there. The point is, it's, you know, if you have 100 grand, in his case, he made a dynamite return. So behind me, the next building over is an old bowling alley. That actually sold at auction. I think it was probably 2014 time frame, maybe 15. The guy walked away with a steal. I mean, so what you had is some finance issues on the part of the owner. And nobody goes bowling anymore. So, you know, you got bowling alleys over the country that are kind of sitting vacant or, you know, marginal in terms of profitability. He picked that up for 20 grand, and they converted that to, or in the process right now of converting it to environmentally controlled storage, indoor storage. And that's the big thing too. Another thing, an old commercial building in Idaho Falls, some guy picked that up. I was talking to the wife of the guy. They turned that into a U-Haul storage area, and he had an inside track because he already worked with U-Haul. But man, I mean, he picked it up for a steal, and that place is packed. They are making serious bucks at that location. So my home, I bought an old church as an example. Lots of old churches available, and they're cheap. I paid $27,000 for mine, but yeah, you can pick those up left and right, particularly with the youth going more agnostic or atheist, which is not necessarily a good sign for the future, but definitely a lot of churches that are available, particularly in urban areas. Warehouses, man, I lived in Vermont, and they had this this commercial building, 4 stories, full city block in a town in Vermont, and the guy wanted 60 for it. This was 20 years ago, so it's not like yesterday, but and he was willing to carry with like 6,000 down. And I think the interest rate he had was like 6%. So, you know, good deal. That was, I think, 16,000, 20,000 square feet. A lot of fun. My kids and I called it the Scooby-Doo Mansion, and they were desperate to buy it. My wife wasn't a fan. But what I'm getting at is if you're willing to think outside the box, there's housing that's very affordable. If you want to be a slave to debt the rest of your life, go through a realtor and buy a conventional home via mortgage. Some of us want that. I'm not one of those some of us. Anyway, hey, you have a good one. Bye.